Hey guys, real quick, looking at SVXY, market's going to open in 25, 22 minutes, 23 minutes, but some interesting things going on here. A lot of times I'll look at the 1 year, sometimes I'll narrow it down and look at the 10-day, um, and I'll show you a little bit later, but we've used that December 5th line for a while now, and things kind of changed. It was great to use, and I'm just going to do this in real time, but we kind of ran it through here, and it kind of gave us an idea of where, um, where our resistance channel was and where our support channel was for a period of time. And we use this as a support channel, 2 days under, back above, um, 2 days under, then we couldn't get above, so it turned into resistance. We pushed through, 2 closes over, then dropped back down. It also gave us the height because we kept this area as a little bit of an outlier. These little, big spikes that you see in high volume, they kind of sometimes they represent highs in SVXY for a time period. So you can see here the pop up and then the failure right along that second line, and that also coincided perfectly with this line right here that gave us another resistance level. And then we kind of had this big drop here, and then some major technical damage here, and we went through a little bit of a different line. We always try to run our lines from our extremes in complacency and fear. You can kind of see how this line ran, and we started another channel. Depending on how you ran the line, you could have run it along here and caught this little channel in there. You could have run it along here, and I'm going to show you as we tighten things up what I'm looking at as far as another channel that we did here. So the interesting thing is if you zoom in on SVXY, um, and we're going to narrow things down today and try to figure out where the bottom is. I think it's probably around 152.50, assuming the market behaves. But there are days where we have these huge, tremendous drops, obviously, and you can't discount that you have these narrow, slow grinds higher. This gravestone doji is a little bit precarious. We want to keep that in mind. But interesting thing is once we had this precipitous drop and broke the channel, it kind of became a new area of resistance. And real quick, you can see how the old support level within a certain wave line broke and we gapped down. Interesting thing is once we got above there, it created a new line. And we stayed above that, and you can run different channel lines from there as well and make new wave lines. But the funny thing is once we broke down, we literally opened right on that line that we created that day, dropped down, and you can see how this has become a little bit of a resistance area. It was pretty close yesterday at the 159. And it probably would have given you some sell areas on SVXY, especially as you narrow into the top range. It becomes a little bit more dangerous. So funny thing is this gap up fixed the technical damage, drop below caused the technical damage. So even though you're below these lines and you're above these lines and you're above the the close that did the technical damage, you're really still under the channel line there. And as the SPY continues to grind higher and you don't make a new high, it leaves SVXY a little bit vulnerable. And then oftentimes if I want to narrow things down, I look for a 10-day or a 10-day, 10-minute pattern. And I want to find the median average, what we call the magnet, on where SVXY wants to trade, and mostly trades on an average. And this is kind of the line right here that I look at, and you can kind of see we call this kind of like the magnet. This is the median average line. If you draw a line straight through there, could be a touch higher, and maybe run through the body of this a little bit more in detail. But you can kind of see how we kind of trend, and then once we pull below, the further you get away from it, the more it wants to pull back to it. Then you get over it, and then you can kind of see from a 10-day, 10-minute line where I might draw my channels intraday to figure out where to buy SVX or UVXY and short SVXY, depending on your preference. But these are simple ways of charting it. Does it always work? Probably 8 out of 10 times. Or you have certain days where you have these crazy outliers where the market, goes ballistic to the upside or parabolic down with fear. And then you have another trend line on the bottom here that you can kind of, these aren't being drawn, exact for the day, but you can kind of see, where an area of support might be. You have these little tails that go through here, but you tend to pull back above and get back on the channel, assuming the market's not, under the, like in other words, today we have some news with Comey coming out, I think either tomorrow or Thursday, testimony. So you could have had some UVXY or VIX hedging ahead of that, and then once that comes unwound, you're probably gonna have a revert to the mean here, and then a little magnet we talk about. But These are little hints to help you out intraday if you're charting it. I tend to not look at charts intraday, but I kind of get an idea of numbers. Sometimes I'll just watch, like I said, a stock or an ETF for an entire day, and then the next day I'll trade depending on how it corresponded with the market and correlate with the market. Was it strong when the market was weak? Those are stocks I like to buy on the big drops in the following day.